Good morning. This is Pat O'Connell. I'm calling to order the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission's regular open meeting. It is Thursday, August 27th, 10 a.m. We're here at the New Mexico State Capitol in room 307. Mr. Cameron, please call the roll.
Commissioner Nybert.
Here.
Commissioner O'Connell.
Here.
Commissioner Aguilera.
Present.
All commissioners are here and you have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. We'll rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Commissioners, we've got the agenda that was posted on Monday. Do you know of any changes or revisions we need to make?
None for me.
All right, seeing none, we'll proceed with the agenda as posted. Announcements. I don't have very many announcements. Just the only hearing that's out there is between now and the next open meeting is starts on September 7th. It's case 2532, which is a Kit Carson Electric Co-op case. And then we'll be back at the Capitol 2 weeks from now for our next regular open meeting on September 10th. Commissioners, did you have any other announcements? Okay, rolling right along. Commissioner Nybert, I believe, has the privilege of Employee of the Month.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, it is indeed my pleasure to present the Employee of the Month, and she is highly recommended for this honor, and hope that she takes it as such. We will be recognizing and are recognizing Angelique Herrera as the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission Employee of the Month for the month of August of 2026. Her nomination form that was submitted by John Krankamp states that Angelique consistently impresses him with her willingness to bring order to disorganized projects, even when this requires tackling difficult subject matter that is new to her. She approaches challenges with a forward-thinking, high-level leadership mindset. She has the ability to see both the forest and the trees, taking the time to understand the detailed work being done and also assessing how the broader processes impact the organization. This dual perspective is extremely valuable when evaluating workflows and managing complex projects. Angelique communicates clearly and directly, and she consistently shows up ready to roll up her sleeves and fully immerse herself in the work to understand the entire process end to end. And so the commission wants to recognize Angelique with a certificate that will be signed by our chief of staff. And it says, now therefore be it resolved that the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission of the state of New Mexico congratulates Angelique Herrera on her selection as Employee of the Month for September 2026. Issued under seal of the commission at Santa Fe, New Mexico, this 27th day of August 2026. And I might ask our chief of staff to make sure that the front page that says August 2026 and the September 2026 at the end, that they be the same month. So anyway, may need to make one revision, but if everybody would join me in congratulating Angelique for that honor. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody here that came to provide public comment? If so, too bad you didn't register. No, we don't have anybody registered for public comment, so just see if there's anybody in the room interested in availing themselves of that opportunity. So seeing none, we will move on to approval of prior meeting minutes. So gentlemen, we had the minutes for July 30th in our package to prepare for today's meetings. Today's meeting, do you have any changes or motion to approve?
I don't have any changes, and I'd move to approve the minutes for July 30, 2026.
Second.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
So agenda for July 30th minutes, or minutes for July 30th have been adopted. Next up, we've got consent action items, and there's quite a few. So there's 10 items on the consent action agenda. Is there anything we need to talk about before voting on those 10? Okay, so seeing none, I will move for adoption of the potential orders on the consent action agenda.
Second.
Please take a very undramatic vote.
Commissioner Nybert,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera.
Yes.
The motion to approve the 10 items on the consent agenda passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Okay, so our first regular action item is case 2372. We've had quite a few in this case number about working on adoption or compliance with the new 17.9.568. We'll start with presentation from Mr. Biss.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This matter comes before you on P&M's motion for extension of variance from Rule 17.9.568. That's the Commission's interconnection rule for generation facilities with a nameplate rating up to and including 10 megawatts. In March 2023, P&M petitioned the Commission for variances from certain portions of Rule 568, which had been recently amended, and the Commission granted temporary variances. These included the variance at issue here, which is a variance from the provisions of the rule concerning the simplified interconnection application process and the fast track application process with respect to P&M's Albuquerque downtown network, which is a little different from the rest of its grid in that it's a spot network. In 2024, P&M moved the Commission for an extension of this variance, and on November 1st, 2024, the Commission conditionally extended that variance, conditioned upon P&M reporting the results of a planned cost-benefit analysis concerning upgrades to the network, accompanied by an application for approval of P&M's proposed plan for compliance with Rule 568. In September 2025, the Commission issued its order requiring additional reporting, in which the Commission found that P&M had satisfied the conditions for the extension of its variance to November 1st, 2026. The Commission also ordered P&M to meet and confer with stakeholders, including customers that would like to interconnect distributed generation to the downtown network, as well as meet and confer with the City of Albuquerque. The Commission also ordered P&M to file a report in November 2025 concerning the potential use of non-export systems in the downtown network, and if P&M wished to seek a further extension, to file such a request by July 1st, 2026. In November, P&M filed its report on non-export systems, in which it stated that it had performed a review and found that non-export systems may be a solution to interconnection issues for the downtown network, while adding that further studies were needed. On July 1st, P&M filed its report on its cost-benefit analysis concerning compliance with the rule, in which P&M stated that the cost-benefit analysis for non-export systems showed a net positive benefit. On the same day, P&M filed the motion before you, which is the motion for extension of the variance, requesting a 4-year extension of the variance from variances from the particular sections of Rule 568. And P&M also stated that it will likely need an indefinite variance after that, after the design and implementation with regard to the fast track interconnection application process. The motion was opposed by Renewable Energy Industries Association of New Mexico, REA-NM. REA-NM felt that there wasn't that much time, that there wasn't such a long time as requested. 4 years was not needed. And also, REA-NM requested or recommended that instead of P&M working with the TIIR, the Technical Interconnection, I don't remember exactly which, what the IR stands for, but our existing Technical Interconnection Standards Group, instead REA-NM proposed the creation of a different group. There are 2 orders before you. One which would partially grant the motion, providing a 2-year extension of the variances so that P&M could pursue the non-export system route and then could reapply for additional variance for an additional extension after that time. The order would be conditioned upon semi-annual reporting by P&M. There's an alternative order from Commissioner Nybert, which would provide an indefinite extension of the variance and would also require the same semi-annual reporting. And so with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you for that, Mr. Fisk. My questions are more about the compare and contrast between the 2 orders. And just background, and I feel like a broken record, but maybe I'm not. When I see a request for permanent variance on something like this, it looks like a rejection of the concept that innovation or technological advancement is possible, and just by training and by inclination, that is hard for me to swallow. So I know I've asked for this before, is don't ask for permanent variances because you're not going to get them. And if your engineers are telling you that this is a permanent variance because this is never something that'll never be solved, you might want to get some new engineers. But I'm just giving you background for that, because kind of informs the questions I'm asking. But the big thing I'm seeing in the 2 options, one is, it's not a permanent variance, it's a 2-year variance. The other is indefinite variance with lots of reporting requirements, but it's really looks to me like a path to permanent. So just want to understand that better.
Mr. Chair, maybe I can explain my rationale for proposing a indefinite variance. The matter gets solved in the next 9 months. There's no more need for a variance, but yet we have a 2-year variance that's hanging out there. What I'm proposing is an indefinite variance that says, let the technical work group do their job, let P&M figure this thing out. If it's in 9 months, then it can be terminated in 9 months. Likewise, if it's 3 or 4 years from now, they don't have to come back to us in 2 years to say, Mother, may I continue the variance? If the outcome's the same, I mean, this is the second time we've considered this variance now. We've taken staff time, we've taken engineers' time, P&M's taken a lot of time, and we're taking time on a matter that is dependent upon the feasibility of the technology and the cost of implementing that technology. And until things change or becomes economic, the need for the variance continues to exist. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't be pushed. I'm just saying that the need for us to review this thing should be indefinite, and it's based upon those semi-annual reports that'll be coming to staff, and at such time as staff believes that the issue should be coming before us, then it's appropriate for us to question whether or not the variance should continue or whether it should be terminated. And so that's the, as I intended was to just create an indefinite situation. Could be terminated sooner than 2 years, could be longer, but it's based upon the reports that would be made to staff on a semi-annual basis, and give everybody the flexibility to try to move in that direction, but also understanding that it's technology and cost that are going to be the prime consideration whether a variance needs to be continue in effect or whether it should be terminated. So that's the difference in my mind between
Yeah.
the two.
No, I get that. I guess where my biggest hang up is paragraph F, where turning it to a permanent variance is something that is a possibility.
Well, I think that was a possibility in both of the orders, but it would require further work of this this agency to make it a permanent variance. If at the end of the day they determine that the technology is not there and it's not cost effective, or either one, then maybe there is a need. Maybe there's a compelling case to make it permanent. But I was just trying to pick up that now is not the time to consider that issue.
Yeah, and then the other thing I'm trying to make sure is that the pressure is on P&M, not us, right? So there's a lot of reporting requirements, and it seems to put the ball in our court to decide what to do next. The world that I want to create is that you're always pushing to do better, and the people with the tools to do better are the utilities. I mean, we're going to do our budget later this meeting, and my running joke with Miranda is that she should put a backhoe in there because everybody expects us to build things. She never does.
And thank goodness we don't have to operate a backhoe.
Yeah, well, yeah, you don't want me operating that. So anyway, that's just what I was trying to understand, reconcile the differences between these two. If it feels like we're shifting the burden to us and off of P&M, I'm not in favor of that. And I'm not in favor of signaling that a permanent variance is something that can and should be pursued. I mean, what the other order says about permanent variances is just their request is premature. But if you think if you're an optimist and you think the world's getting better, premature means never.
Yeah, again, that's not an issue for me. I was trying to keep the same thoughts, and I did put something in here about permanent variance, but
yeah, no, that's why I wanted to explore this, because I saw, well, this is not a bad path as long as we're not.
But it definitely,
it's P&M's job to provide the service. It's their job to try to make their system better. And so I just wanted to make sure that pressure remained.
well, it definitely puts maybe a little more onus on the agency to make sure that we review those semi-annual reports, and that if staff believes that technology and cost are such that the variance should be terminated, to bring that issue before us to do that. Where in the other order, in 2 years, you have to consider the issue, assuming that they would want to continue a variance. The issue would automatically come before us in 2 years, but the pressure's off for 2 years. Under mine, the pressure remains on during that 2-year period, because after any one of those reports, the variance could be terminated because we believe that the technology and the cost are such that they need to be moving in that direction. So it doesn't give them a 2-year pass, but it also could give them a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year pass if the status quo remains. So I just don't think that the commission should have to deal with these things, you know, automatically every so many years if things are indefinite. And it looks to me like this technical work group, if it's doing its job and putting in reports, as long as the need for the variance continues, then why should we take it up in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years if the things haven't changed? We should take it up when the conditions change that warrant the variance no longer to be in effect, in my mind.
Okay, I understand that, and that's what I liked about the order is more proactive. So hey, let's keep working on it. Commissioner Aguilera.
Yeah, I think I agree with the discussion so far about what this is about. The pressure and responsibility that where it's assigned, right? So under the 2-year variance, we'd be putting more pressure on the utility to complete a task within those 2 years, or come back and request a variance, which on that I disagree that it's a burden. I don't really think coming in and requesting an additional variance is that much of a burden, especially if it's 2 years from now. And they could also come in and terminate it if it is done in 9 months. And so I don't really see that as a big barrier. And then I also agree with the discussion so far on where the onus is on staying up to date on the reports. I do think that the indefinite one, as Commissioner Nybert mentioned, shifts the burden onto staff and the stakeholders, and I'm not sure that that's appropriate. I think that the utility has made progress here. It hasn't been super fast, but they've made some progress. The reason they've made that progress is because of the requirements that we included in prior orders. Had we not required the utility to conduct studies and review the situation, I don't think we would be where we are right now with the potential non-export solution. So I'm supportive of continuing to provide reasonable pressure on the utility and expectations that they need to continue to evaluate this situation. On the other part of the variance that could be permanent, I do agree that it's premature. It is going to be a unique case because if we end up allowing this situation to occur, that variance might not be applicable. And I think that's a function of how we present the requirements, which are in our rules instead of an individual tariff. An individual tariff, I think PNM would be able to come in, revise their tariff to reflect their unique circumstances, because this is a unique circumstance, but having these rules in our commission rules kind of binds us to having the utility, all of the utilities follow those common rules. And sometimes there are circumstances that might require a utility to deviate. And so I think if we had the individual tariffs, we wouldn't need a variance because they'd be able to revise their tariff. Here, they do need a variance. And so I say that because I agree with the idea of a permanent variance being a rejection of what the rule is. And it does sort of seem like, well, I don't want to do this. And so this is a rule and just let me never follow the rule. And it is a little bit more nuanced than that, potentially. And so anyway, I am supportive of the order that requires the utility to come back in 2 years and, provide a status report, potentially not require variance again, because I believe that order provides the proper incentive to the utility to continue to work toward a resolution.
Yeah, thanks. And you brought up a couple other things I was thinking about here too. Is totally acknowledge, in the world of sympathy and empathy aren't the same things. That the downtown network in Albuquerque is unusual, and it presents technical challenges that the rest of the system doesn't have. On the other side, if you think about public interest, downtown Albuquerque is maybe as important or more important than any other spot on the system, right? So trying to balance those two things, right? And so your discussion of rule versus tariff was interesting, and it, for me, that was the point is, in addition to rejection of people will get smarter and technology will improve, a permanent variance just is a way to rewrite a rule. So if that's really what you need, because downtown network is odd, then come in with either a revision to the rule or a different mechanism. You provided one, there might be others. But what I'm looking for is a world where progress can continue to happen, and that recognition that it's the utility system, it's in the public interest that as opportunities are created through technology advancements, innovation, and hopefully even our utilities are some of the innovators here, that not only do they pursue that, they embrace it, right? So I guess I'm still at the point where I appreciate what you did, Commissioner Nyberg, because you made it more flexible and you kept the ball rolling, right? But I think I'm going to stick with, at this moment, the first recommendation, with part of the discussion being I would also welcome other solutions, right? So just don't ask for a permanent variance from the rule. And the best way to get another solution is just say this is what can't happen. So having said that, I'll move for adoption of the order that, best to describe that. The order that partially grants the requested variance.
I'll second, and I have a little bit of discussion. There are some edits in the alternate version that I think are intended just to improve the readability and flow of the order, and I don't think those were transferred over to the other order. So these are between paragraphs 1 and 19. Is that correct, Mr. Fisk, that those small edits for readability and improving the flow are not in the original order?
Commissioner Aguilera, you said paragraph 1. I don't see any edits in paragraph 1.
But just 1 through 19. They're small edits throughout.
Yeah, there's a little edit in almost every paragraph in there, and I agree with what Commissioner Aguilera is saying. Is the language of the order improves if we include that.
Yeah, and so that was going to be my suggestion, is to include those edits as part of the adopting the partial grant version of the order.
Yes, that's fine. That does not change the content. 1 through 19.
Okay, so then revise the motion to adopt the order that partially grants the variance and adopts the the drafting improvements in the alternate order for paragraphs 1 through 19.
Yeah, so that is my amended version of the motion, and so I would move to adopt the friendly amendment.
Well, Commissioner Nyberg and I have been talking about where you need Robert's rules and where you don't, and it's kind of wonky for a 3-person commission. So I think really the goal of what we're trying to do here is make sure we all understand what we're voting on. So is there any questions about what we'd be voting on? Any more to say before we vote? Mr. Cameron.
Commissioner Nyberg.
I vote yes.
Commissioner O'Connell.
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera.
Yes.
So the motion to approve the order that partially grants the variance, along with the language edits from the other order, passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next and last item on the regular action item is case 26153, potential order concerning petition for declaratory order. We'll begin with presentation from Aaron Lecoq.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. This order addresses Texas New Mexico Resources petition for a declaratory order concerning its proposed issuance of up to $400 million in equity. Texas New Mexico proposes to use these proceeds exclusively to repay the loan it obtained from Wells Fargo, the debt for which it incurred to unwind the Topco financing transaction in compliance with the Commission's July 2nd order on the show cause proceeding. Texas New Mexico Resources asks the Commission to determine that these replacement equity transactions do not require prior Commission approval under our interpretation of 62.612A. The proposed order in front of you grants that request, but very narrowly. It concludes the specific transactions described in the petition are not undertaken for the purposes of the acquisition, but rather emanate from the Commission's order unwinding the transaction. As long as the transaction occurs the way Texas New Mexico Resources has described that it will, and the way that the order grants it for these very specific circumstances, the order finds that Texas New Mexico Resources does not need to seek Commission approval under 62.612A for this specific transaction. And with that, I stand for questions.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any questions on this one? I mean, for me, the proposal is pretty straightforward and it matches the request and falls in line mostly with the responses we got to the request. So I don't have any questions.
I have no questions, but in light of my prior vote, I'm not going to be able to support this order either. There are going to be costs associated with this proposed stock transaction. And well, in the prior order that that the Commission entered says that the ratepayers will be held harmless. These matters have only caused delay, capital investment, maybe a decrease in employee morale, and really the value of the corporation, in my mind, has been impacted by these matters. The procedures that we set forth, I think, have harmed TXNM, and regardless of whether the ultimate acquisition occurs or does not, I think harm has been has and will be felt by that corporation. And so in light of that, and my prior vote trying to avoid harm to the extent possible, the sale of this stock, even though it's absolutely necessary, and I concur in the result of the order, that being they don't need our permission to do this, as long as it's being sold to non-public utility entities and the other restrictions in the statute. I concur with that, but since since I was very forceful in my opposition to the prior methodology, I remain opposed to this because I see harm resulting or continuing to result because third parties are now going to have that $400 million worth of stock, which will have some impact on the corporation, whether we approve the acquisition or not. So I will not be voting for the motion.
Great. Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll move for adoption of the order granting petition for declaratory order in this case.
I'll second.
Mr. Cameron?
Commissioner Nyberg,
I concur in the result, but I vote no.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera.
Yes.
The motion to approve the order passes on a vote of 2 yeses, 1 no.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, so next, this is an item I hinted at or tried to preview at the last open meeting. It's related to the rulemaking that we debated in depth 2 weeks ago, and that the final words of it got adopted in the consent agenda items today. But following on to that, just recognition through the rulemaking process that what Mr. Cameron's going to discuss is something that Commission feels is important, and through the rulemaking process, the concept was maybe this is a better vehicle for the topic. So with that introduction, Mr. Cameron, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, as you mentioned, the rulemaking has a section that refers to decorum, and it's primarily refers to a resolution that the commission may adopt from time to time. This is that first of that resolution. The idea here is, so this is a standards of conduct for adjudicatory proceedings, resolution 8-27-26. The idea here is to a recognition of the gravity of the proceedings before the commission and the presiding officers, to set formal standards of conduct and uniform practice guidelines, and kind of lay the ground rules that everybody's going to agree to for practicing in front of the commission. And again, most of the time we're talking about practicing in front of the hearing examiners. The other goal we're hoping to accomplish with the resolution is to give the hearing examiners the tools they need to conduct their proceedings in a fair, orderly, efficient, and respectful manner. And so what you have in front of you is a draft of that resolution. There's also a red line version with some comments in it, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, did you have any comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to take the opportunity to express my appreciation for the work that's been done in preparing this, but also to tell my fellow bar members that, frankly, I've been somewhat appalled to see some of the actions of counsel that appear before us, primarily before the hearing examiners. And what this code of conduct is to get at is to ensure that the bar, members of the bar, would treat our hearing examiners exactly as if you were appearing in front of the Supreme Court of New Mexico. They deserve that respect. They deserve your utmost attention to this code, and frankly, all counsel appearing before them should practice the same decorum principles that they practice when they are in front of the highest court in this state. And so I'm pleased that Mr. Cameron has come up with this code, and I hope that as we move forward, we don't see some of the antics that have gone on in particularly the online hearings that I've been a witness to over the course of the last year and a half. And so I hope council will take this admonition to heart, and I hope that we see continued improvement in the decorum and the professionalism that is accorded our hearing examiners and this agency. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you, and thank you for that. Yeah, for me, I've been involved in proceedings in front of the commission since at least 2007, and it feels like some of this, we're having this conversation because of what happened when we went to online hearings, right? Because in the good old days, if you did something, it was disrespectful, and it's not that that didn't happen, but if it did happen, you had to walk through the room and face your peers while you walked back to the back of the room. So it was kind of, you got immediate feedback, right? And now that we're doing stuff from Zoom, you're in the echo chamber of your spare bedroom or something like that, and so you don't get that feedback, and I think things have slipped a little bit since then. So just for me, the whole point is we agree that this stuff's important, and then I just personal example. I remember way before I even came to PNM, when I was a consulting engineer, I would be working on engineering projects around New Mexico, and sometimes would encounter engineers that worked for Indian Health Service. So the guys that were designing the water systems at Indian reservations around the state, and there was a Surgeon General, C. Everett Koop, who required those guys to wear their uniforms on Friday. And if you're a public engineer working in the rural parts of New Mexico, you didn't really respect or see the need for ever getting dressed up on your job. But just talking to those guys, it was amazing, because they said, I hated that when he told me I had to wear my uniform. But then when I started showing up at meetings in, public health service uniform, you look like a Navy officer. Like, it was amazing how smarter I got. People just wanted to listen to me. And so part of it is just recognition on the human nature side of it. Especially say you're an expert witness. I've seen a few folks on cameras like, well, this is not Saturday at Costco, right? So if you're trying to get me to really buy into what you're saying, tell me what you're doing is important. And so part of that is in here, we're just setting the minimum bar. And then the other, and I'm not expecting people to show up in tuxedos after this, but the other personal example for me is I am a nightmare at spelling, right? I am really bad. My brain just doesn't work to where I can spell words correctly. So one of the things I realized, though, is if I don't pay attention to spelling and I give somebody a document I wrote with a lot of the misspellings, I've given them permission to think I'm not very smart or not very good at writing, or so don't devalue yourself that way. Just pay attention to how you appear and how you present yourself. First of all, you're worth it, and second of all, you will make this process better if somehow we can get back to a world where we all recognize what we're doing is important, and what we should focus on are the important, complicated issues that come before us, not let me grandstand or I don't like this guy, so I'm going to take it out on him, even though it has nothing to do with the hearing. So anyway, that's why I think this is important, and hopefully things get better. Also working behind the scenes to try to get to where we do in-person hearings again.
Yep, thank you both, and I'll be quick. As I see the conduct of the professionals who appear before the commission and the hearing examiners, I see a lot of professionalism, and I just hope that if you're reading this, you it's not too patronizing. I kind of see it as something that courts and quasi judicial hearings need to have as rules that um, uh, we need in order to run a proper and professional hearing. And, you know, because when I first read this, I'm like, do we really need this? And apparently it's all happened before, which is unfortunate. But, you know, I just want to assure the professionals who practice before the commission that not to, you know, take it as a personal thing, because I see a lot of professionalism, and these are rules that I think are necessary and commonly adopted by courts and other regulatory agencies.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we adopt Resolution 8-27-26, Standards of Conduct for Adjudicatory Proceedings, as presented.
I'll second that. Any last comments before we vote?
Commissioner Nyberg,
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera.
Yes.
The motion to approve Resolution 8-27-26 passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Merrily we roll along. Next discussion potential action item is the FY28 budget request and approval, and this is the back inside story of why I'm chair again. That this year's the crime year, and so guess who has to sign it?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Patrick, can I please have the ability to share my screen?
You were avoiding the crime year.
All right. I am happy to be here in front of you today presenting our fiscal year 28 budget request. I'm a little surprised we are already here in the year, but here we are. So ready or not, here we come for fiscal year 28. This year, our request is going to look a bit different. As most of you are aware, we did pass legislation in last legislative session that will allow PRC to become a self-funded agency beginning fiscal year 28. So as part of that transition, we will be requesting 50% general fund and 50% funds from our utility fee fund for fiscal year 28 as we transition, and then we will be fully self-funded by fiscal year 29. So those numbers will be reflected in our request that I'll present the numbers in a bit. As part of our request, our priorities and goals were to continue to maintain low vacancy levels through means of compensation and growth opportunities for our employees. The biggest part of our request for fiscal year 28 was to incorporate the forecast modeling software in our base budget. Currently, that is being funded through a special appropriation, and we would like to maintain that program, and so therefore we are rolling that into our base request for 28. The other piece of our request is to continue to modernize the agency, increase capacity by optimizing our internal operations, processes, and time management, and this is primarily done through our AI software that we've been utilizing, our staff have been utilizing. So within our request, you will see that our overall request is $24.6 million this fiscal year, which is about a 6% increase from our prior fiscal year operating budget. Overall, our 200s, you'll see a 2.5% increase. That is our personnel services and employee benefits. That increase is due to a request for one additional FTE, and that's going to be to run our forecast modeling software. And it also incorporates a 10% increase in the healthcare premium, which we are being instructed by our oversight agencies that we should include in our base operating budget. Within our 300s, our contractual services, we're seeing a 14.8% increase. That increase is primarily due to the forecast modeling software to be able to contract with professional services to for implementation of that software if needed. And then lastly, our other expenses, we are seeing a 30.9% increase from fiscal year 27. Again, that is primarily due to the forecast modeling software to be able to purchase the licenses and to support our current AI software. Again, these are not new expenses for the agency. I do want to reiterate, we are paying for them currently. It's just through a special appropriation. So these will be rolled into our base budget so we can continue the program going forward. And then I do want to point out, we will be seeing a decrease of general fund revenue of $7.6 million within our request. And that is going to transfer over to our other state funds, our utility fee fund, which we will be requesting approximately $8.9 million within this request, which is a 356% increase in other state funds. So this will fund our agency 50% throughout fiscal year 28. Also within our request, we do have a special appropriation for community solar. This request is $3.1 million. Our request will get us through fiscal year 29. And the reason for this request is to continue to contract with our third-party administrator to facilitate the community solar program. This appropriation will allow the agency to manage the increased project volume and maintain stability as the project continues to grow. Once the commission opens up the second solicitation process, the program will expand by up to an additional 300 megawatts, which will be a substantial increase in administrative workload and project management. And with that, I will stand for any questions from the commission.
Ms. Mascarenas, can you confirm there's no money in this budget for a backhoe?
Mr. Chair, I can confirm there is no money in the budget for a backhoe.
Yeah, before you got here, I was complaining that you won't give me one. So. Any other questions? My reflection on this is we were in years of expansion budgets and now we're in a maintenance budget, and so it's interesting corner that has been turned there. Again, I just also very much appreciate and admire the work you and Lori do year round to get us to this point every year.
And I also want to express my thanks to you and your team, Ms. Mascarenas, for putting together this budget and for the meeting we had before where you helped me understand, or at least I pretend to understand what you're talking about in preparing for this. And so thank you to you and your team. Also, thank you to Commissioner O'Connell for signing this.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about every 2 years is crime year, and I'd forgotten that was coming. Okay, so what do you need from us today? Just vote to approve it, or?
Mr. Chair, yes, a vote to either approve or deny the budget request.
Yeah, this one's different because it's not like we're voting to do something that we have no choice on.
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to move approval of the budget request so that our team can move that forward with the state legislature.
Second.
Commissioner Nyberg?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera?
Yes.
The motion to approve the budget as presented passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, so next up is another annual process. Can't believe we're here again. It's a presentation of the applications we have received so far, or I guess we're not, applications that have been received for the 2027 broadband program support from the State Rural Universal Service Fund. I believe we have Mr. Evans available to talk us through that.
Yes. Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning, Commission, Chairman O'Connell and Commissioners. Good morning. Yes, this morning I'm here to share. This is the 8th year that the Commission has been offering and fielding applications for broadband program support. And so I'm proud to present what we have been able to receive this year. As a result of that. And Patrick, if you can please allow me to share my screen, I'd like to put my presentation up.
Go ahead, Eugene.
Thank you. Okay. In the matter of the application of 2026-27, the broadband program support from the State Rural University Service Fund, and we're through the 17.11.10.31 in the docket of 265085. Staff report on proceedings for filing and consideration of application for the 2026 and 27 broadband program support. And I'd like to go through the process here from May 1st to May 31st, in this case, in 2026, the following applications: filed broadband funds applications to qualify for the 2026-2027 broadband program support grants as followed. As you can see within our map as well. The first applicant was Smith Bagley Inc., also does business as Cellular One of Northeast Arizona. And their county is within McKinley, San Juan. Yes.
We're not able to see the slide that you're on right now. Maybe if you enter the slideshow mode and skip over to your third slide.
You are able, are you saying you are able to see it or not?
We're not. We just see the PowerPoint application, but not switching of the slides.
Give me a second. About that.
Yeah, what you're talking about is on slide 3, but what we got on the screen is slide 1.
Did it switch? No.
No, we still see the PowerPoint application, but it's.
All right, let me get out of this. I apologize. I tend to do a lot of Teams. Zoom, I don't necessarily do as much, so bear with me and patience. I appreciate it. Stop sharing here. And let me share back to myself.
That looks right. Thank you.
Okay. Are we on the map now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. I appreciate it. I apologize on that. As I said, first applicant, which was Smith Bagley, Inc., also do business Cellular One in Northeast Arizona. We have two applicants, one's of Baca Valley Telephone Company, which is Baca Valley, which is in a Colfax County. Also Sierra Communication Inc. is also in Colfax. Eastern New Mexico Rural Telephone Co-op, which is ENMR, which is in Curry County, and New Mexico Surf, which is in Torrance and Santa Fe County, and Penasco Valley Telephone Co-op Inc., which is in Arturo County. Now, the introduction under the New Mexico AC 17.11.10.31G, subset 3, staff must present an analysis of broadband awards applications to the commission by September the 1st. This presentation fulfills this requirement. There are 6 applicants with a total of 12 proposed projects and maintenance applications this year. 12 of those proposed projects and maintenance total cost was over about 16.9 million. 8 applicants, total request project funds was a little over 6.1 million. And 8 of those applicant matching funds for those projects was just over 2 million. Now, 2 applicants had proposed maintenance applications this year. And for those maintenance total costs of the 12 was over $2.8 million. And for total applicant matching funds for those maintenance applications was about $5.8 million. And then there's 8 total applicant projects and maintenance matching funds for that was a little over $7.9 million. And the 8 total projects and 4 maintenance costs at this time tentatively was $8.9 million. Now, the State Rural Universal Service Fund available in 2026 and 27 will be approximately $12 million. The SRUS rules amended by the Commission final order in case number 17-00077 UT on December the 7th, 2017, established a May 1st deadline for filing applications for the broadband program support for the following years. And the Telecom Bureau shall review and summarize all timely applications. The rural area determination of how we address this is that the commission may classify a project area as rural if, 1, if the rural characteristics, the area resemble a rural area. 2, broadband access, the area is unserved or underserved by broadband. 3, public interest, classifying the area as rural served the public interest. 4, unincorporated areas, any unincorporated area in New Mexico. And 5, finally, 5 is small population, any city, town, or incorporated area with a population of 20,000 or less based on the latest U.S. and tribal census. Now, my staff review process is that the Telecommunication Bureau have reviewed all parties' information regarding their broadband fund application for consideration for the 2026-2027 broadband program support grant. And the broadband fund application was structured to emphasize every applicant's proposed project in its most relevant detail and to have applicants submit these details together in the form of 10 attachments that I created. And the 10 from A to J, I would like to list them out just for clarification. First, we have a list of all address, total population, residents and business, and unincorporated areas affected, funds requested. B, we have a total project budget. C, we have network or system diagram and services that's going to be offered. D, the design plan and documentation. E, the project plans, project implementation plans that include specific projects, completed milestones as well. F, operational plans and providers information. G, we have aerial maps, which is the KML, KMZ files, and geographic information system, or GIS, which is shape files. And H, letter of support for the project in the general area. J, is commitment from community anchor institution or public safety networks. And finally, J, all information documentation or information relevant to the project. Now, in my evaluation project process, the data utilization used the FCC broadband data collection, which is a BDC, which fabric, and New Mexico Department of IT, State Broadband Map, UNM Earth Data Analysis Center, data to verified applicants, propagation footprint, aerial map, and geo shape files. Now we have a collaboration pool source resources with New Mexico's Office of Broadband Access and Expansion, which we refer to as OBAE, Do It, and UNM Earth Data Analysis Center, which is EDAC. We also have communication. We maintain open communication with applicants to ensure the accuracy and clarity of each application submitted for consideration. Digital tools that I created for you commissioners developed a digital spreadsheet with project proposal and costs, sites, location, and analysis, along with interactive cost estimate section to assist the commissioners with their decision process. And I'm assuming that that should be in your hands, commissioners, so you can look over that and see the process as a whole. And finally, the compliance review. Each applicant's proposal was evaluated based on the commission rules and regulation from 17.11.10.31 NMAC criteria, along with the joint agency collaboration of OBAE, EDAC, and PRC, concluding that all projects meet the standards for consideration in this selection process. My first value, as you can see within my scale, I have the unserved infrastructure project. Now, tentatively, we have projects that was submitted by, we have Sierra Wind here at New Mexico Surf, ENMR, PVT, which is Canastro Valley, Baca Valley, and Sierra Communication. As you can see, the cost per customer, the request of funds that each company has put in initially, also the accumulated fund, as you can see, as it's added up and within the graph and the bar, as you can see, that will add up. Tentatively, it's a little over 6 million for the unserved projects in the beginning. And we have the maintenance assistant request for this year. As you see, there is actually 4 of those projects, and the number of customers that is going to be assisting the fund requested by each company and an accumulated fund, including the unserved projects, to add up roughly around 8.9 million that will be asked for tentatively. Now I need to go into the next review, which is the Office of Broadband Access and Expansion. Now, their review of the 26-27 broadband program by OBA staff of Natalie Runyon, which is the GIS and data manager, and Andrew Wilder, which is the policy and program bureau chief. Now, they reviewed the application for the 2026-2027 broadband program, and their goal for OBE is to prevent duplication or duplicative public finding, ensure alignment with other states and federal broadband investment, and support the PRC decision making. Now, 8 of those 12 applications in collaboration with our commission were also reviewed by the Office of Broadband Access and Expansion. Now, they have a methodology and a data source for each applicant. They identified existing service levels within the application area. They evaluate technology, speed, and latency. They mapped all existing enforceable commitments, which is binding legal obligations required a broadband provider to deploy qualifying high-speed internet service to specific locations. They applied 2 core principles: avoid funding areas already served or covered by existing commitments, and support upgrade to priority broadband, which is plus more 120 megabits per second or 100 minus equal milliseconds latency. Now, their key finding, commissioners, and recommendation of OBAE is that the 5 projects are recommended to proceed in our evaluation, and that's Baca Valley Telephone Company in their application of Dry Cinnamon project. Baca Valley, again, Telephone Company, which is their Trincera project. Eastern New Mexico Rural Telephone Co-op and their New Mexico Broadband 2026-27 project. Canastro Valley Telephone Co-op in their 2026-27 PRC project, and Sierra Communication Inc. and their project is Cole Street Project. And OBE had 3 projects, all of New Mexico serve, that overlap significantly with existing service or enforceable commitments. So OBE advised the PRC to consider rejecting these 3 projects for funding due to this evaluation, which leads to my adjusted unserved infrastructure project. As you can see, that New Mexico Serve has been removed from these particular projects, requesting funds, which now come up with a cumulative fund of just over $5,037,820.39 to be exact, which also makes the adjustment on the maintenance assistant request. As you can see, it's brought over as a cumulative fund, and the 4 maintenance requests from the 4 companies now have a new balance of $7,887,148.39 that is going to be requested from our funds from the SRUS that's funding. And for that, I will stand for any questions you have.
Great. Thank you for that information, Mr. Evans. I just want to make sure I'm keeping track of all the information correctly. That you said at the beginning that we're estimating funds available will be approximately 12 million.
That's correct.
That 7.9 million on slide 13 is the total requested out of the potential 12.
That's also correct, Chairman.
Yeah, that's what I thought was right. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't.
I initially put the beginning amount, and I was like at 8.9. That's before, and just to show what was actually received by the commission before the other assessment came from OBAE. And with that assessment of theirs, and which I adhere to as well as agree with, and that's why it lowered it down to 7.9.
Okay. And then process from here, today's presentation, we got to do it anyway, and the date was set by the rule of the law. Then we have to approve the projects or the money spent against the fund. And can you just remind me how that's going to roll out from here?
Certainly, Chairman O'Connell, commissioners. It is my understanding from this point, we will have, we should have that out. I do believe it is from October. You will go through the process of evaluating, if that's what you're looking for in the steps. We do have a reconsideration portion in November for the commission. If anyone wish to have anything to say about these projects or ask questions for reconsideration. And of course, at the end of that month in December, that's when you render your decision. So at this point, this is the deliberation of the commissioners and obviously come to me if you have any other technical questions or anything more that you wish to speak about directly of the package that I sent out to you as well. So you are right now, the clock has started in order to evaluate these projects and make your decisions on granting them. And at this point, that's where you are.
Okay. Yeah, I very much appreciate that. That's exactly what I was wondering. And then just for your information, the kind of thing that I think about is similar to last year is, the first couple of years of this, it was only for unserved customers. Now we're adding annual maintenance requests, and both of those come out of the same pot of money. And so last 2 years, it's been more of an academic question. Looks like it is this year, and it was last year because we had more money available than requests. But I still am just trying to figure out going forward long term what happens if we have to balance a maintenance request against a unserved customer request. So I'm not going to put you on the spot. now.
No. That's not putting me on the spot, Chairman O'Connell, Commissioner. I feel that the priority is infrastructure at this point, and the infrastructure projects to expand broadband availability in the state of New Mexico is our primary objective here, in my personal opinion. I do believe as the program was created for. And you are correct. This is the second year of the first impression of the maintenance request. And within the language of that, that is something that will always, I feel, will come secondary to any projects that is submitted through the commission to our program. And we do have, as you said, there is a 12 million cap. And it seems to be with which is a good thing too, I may add, and that is that our broadband availability in the state of New Mexico is starting to grow, I should say, and the available spaces are starting to shrink, which is a great thing. Mainly means that a lot of our citizens here in New Mexico is starting to enjoy and to be able to apply themselves to the broadband world and expansion of internet. Through our agency, through OBAE and the Connect New Mexico, and on the BEAD program from NTIA and the federal programs as well. So, that is a very proud moment, I think, that we should have here at the commission. And just in general, that has been very successful over the 8 years that I have created this program, was asked by the commission, and also has been offering awards as well. So, yes, but to answer your question, to circle back to you, Chairman O'Connell, and that is the infrastructure program and projects should be priority, with the maintenance coming second after that.
Thank you. And then, yeah, you also brought up just the other thing that I remember, maybe it was the first year that this group of commissioners was dealing with it. The real question, we didn't have as much money as requests, so we had to make some choices. And then it was really about what does unserved versus underserved means, right? And so we were coming out of the pandemic, and the service requirements had increased because people recognized, well, telemedicine maybe is the minimum standard we want to be able to deliver statewide. But I'm not seeing us talking about unserved versus underserved in this year. Is that just because that's just what we have this year, or is that still something we should think about going forward?
Primarily, yes. The answer is a twofold question. And primary, yes, that's what we have this year. There are still some areas that is still considered unserved. It is as you know, New Mexico has different terrain in 4 quadrants of our state. And some areas are very difficult. Some areas can be a very difficult infrastructure because of rock and terrain and what have you. But there are areas that is still may be considered unserved. And then now you're seeing a lot of underserved, which means that is in most cases they have some broadband connectivity, but it can be improved. Basically meeting the requirements that is happening with the rest of the country and the federal guidelines, and just the capability of broadband. So it's a process, as I say, over time, and it's a good process because that means less and less urgency of being able to supply internet aspect, or at least the expectation that it will be there, compared to not having it at all, or having the low value of amount of the data transfer. I think that's a good thing. So it's to answer again, circle back. Yes, it's just the nature of this year. Hopefully next year will be something, we may see somewhat the same, or we may see an increase. It all depends on the companies out there, the carriers out there, and the areas they want to pursue, and also in conjunction of our sister agency, OBAE, to see if we don't step on each other's toes in that manner when it comes down to offering funding from both our programs.
Great. Thank you. Commissioners, did you have any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I do have a couple questions. Mr. Evans, are, do we ever look at whether when we put in this infrastructure, particularly in the very remote parts of the state, whether people are actually utilizing that infrastructure, or have they opted to seek other services such as satellite connectivity?
Commissioner, yes, that information is usually addressed by the applicants as well as their outreach in a sense of what is needed in their community and what is asked for by their subscribers or who lives in those communities and within those counties. So to answer your question directly, yes, that has been tabulated to a point where we are seeing that the use of the technology is being used either through educational aspect or work or employment, or it's just simply video aspect or internet aspect. So I do believe that that is it's not just languishly placed into the infrastructure in that general county and no one is using it. So I can't believe that that is not something that is obviously requested, and it's indeed and have a need for.
Yeah, the reason why I asked the question is 20-some people are projected to be served by the request up in far northern Union County along the Dry Cimarron, and it's at quite an expense per person, according to your numbers. And in
It,
some of those areas, I've heard that ranchers and others are opting to connect to satellite to secure their internet service, and if that's being done, then maybe as we continue to expand this physical network, it may be that outer space is going to consume some of this demand at some
if
point.
if I may,
Yep.
as an engineer, it does not replace satellite communication does not replace fiber. The transmission is just not at that level technically at this point. And it may not be because there's several interferences or several the variables there. And they're getting better. However, the technology is never going to eclipse fiber optic. And the projects that we have here to address, you're saying the small amount of subscribers that is under these large amount, is that the quadrant of the state that you just referred to is vast. And either that's going to be a farm or an area or an industry or residential business that is so far within the vastness of New Mexico in that general area, is still up to, I do believe, our state, our government, and our program to at least extend that opportunity if the carriers are willing to do that and to offer these programs and this type of technology, the internet or aspect of broadband to them, regardless of the fact of the price it may be. Just to address the two types. Now, yes, you can do satellite communication, but it may not be the same as having fiber to your home. Matter of fact, it won't be, regardless of when that technology improves. So it is always good, Commissioner, to have that fiber either to a node or to your home better than relying on, and if you have a business in that manner, on satellite communication. Not saying that satellite communication cannot provide that service, it just won't be the same as having the fiber optic, if that answers your question.
Yeah. In light of the fact that there are several here that are very rural, are in your view of all the quadrants of New Mexico, are you seeing that maybe we are reaching most of the state with broadband at this point, and that we're getting to the point where we're getting those few people here and few people there and get them connected. But are we I guess is the network such that we have done pretty good in covering most of New Mexico?
Commissioner, that is correct. And I think we should feel as a commission proud of that fact, because of the fact that it is shrinking, and that is the want, the need is starting to be smaller than it was 8 years ago. And that is through all our program, which indeed I feel very proud of, looking back on how much opportunity of broadband has been able to our citizens here in New Mexico to take advantage of as well. The tribal aspect, exactly, particularly, I should say. So, but that's a good thing, commissioners. And that is the fact that through all this programming through the years, we have amassed a lot of areas we have covered over the years to offer these programs and offer this ability and these facilities. So yes, over time, that is shrinking. And I look at that as being a good thing. Now, how the monies is going to be divided from that time, that's going to be a commission conversation somewhere down the line when there will be, less infrastructure requests and probably more maintenance requests to maintain that. But that's a conversation. I think that's a serious conversation. I think the commission needs to maybe address on the language of that. But that's my personal opinion on that as well. But to answer your question, yes.
From the future moving forward, we shouldn't be shocked to see fairly significant cost per customer because we're getting to the very remote, unpopulated areas with this network build out.
100% correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Mr. Evans, for your presentation. Commissioner Nybert highlighted exactly what I was going to highlight as well, because, just from the experience of the last 3 years of this program, I've gotten somewhat familiar with the cost per customer, and similarly, two of them stood out to me, the ones that cost like 30,000 per customer and 42,000 per customer. And so the first thing that comes to mind is what are the alternatives? And Commissioner Nybert also mentioned an alternative satellite, right? Fixed wireless. And so I'm thinking, what support is in the application regarding alternatives? I think the price per customer on these is very, very high. I think, I'm not saying they don't deserve, fiber quality internet. I absolutely agree that they do. And the other thing we're trying to balance here is prudent use of taxpayer funds. And so in thinking about what the value is that those taxpayer funds are providing, I think we need to consider what the alternatives are and just ensure that the decision that we would be making if we approved the funding for those projects is prudent. And so the question is, what alternatives were described in the applications? And the other thing that would be helpful to know, and you don't have to share this right now, we can definitely talk later, but what is the average cost per customer that the commission has approved in the last few years? Recognizing the discussion that was just had and explanation about how we're reaching a point where the customers that we still need to reach might be more expensive.
Commissioner, first of all, yes, you're right. I don't have those figures. I can get that back towards you. And at least kind of outline where we are today and where we have been. But just to address what you just said, now when the application goes out, the application is for carriers and for companies who wish to request funding from the commission in order to build out infrastructure, regardless regarding their technology or their request or their view of how they're going to provide these services. There is options and alternatives. If a customer per se, this is for carriers, but if a customer like you and I was living in those general areas, we can basically say, yes, we can go what you having information, we can do the sky blue or something of that nature, that satellite communication, that is always our option as a citizen. But we also look at it in a sense, if I have something that if there's no fixed wireless, I'm saying companies out there that is doing fixed wireless, or if it is just fiber optic, or if Sky Blue is all on top of us everywhere, but the quality is maybe not be the same. It all depends on what your need may be. So the option is always there for all of us, in how we want to spend our money for this particular program. However, the ability to have fiber to your home, or if the ability to have a fixed wireless communication and in that general quadrant of this state may not be available. The carriers may not have it. The company may not be there. Satellite communication is always there over our country, but the quality may not be the same as having something directly to your home. So that's an option. It's spelled out for the carriers, but for the simple subscribers or the individual citizens, you always have an option to go where you feel you can get the best price for things. Now, on your second point, I can see that the amount of individuals or companies or residents that is going to be utilizing the expense of the commission granting an award that seems large or seems exorbitant. I could understand your concern. However, put yourself in your citizen's position of saying, I pay taxes too. And this is something that will help my family, it will help my business. And so I think it behooves us as a commission to at least give that some credit as well, or at least some attention, being sensitive of it, and in the way we grant these awards, not looking at the price, but looking at how it's being utilized.
Okay, thank you. And when I was asking about alternatives, I really was asking about what alternatives may have been presented by the applicant here as another solution. So that's what I would want to see, is what else did you look at before we say yes or no. And I also make my comments as somebody who does not have fiber to their home. I have fixed wireless, and I love it. Honestly, it's fast, it's reliable, it's affordable, and so I do think that is a viable solution for most people. Not a business, right? So I don't need the level of internet speed that a business might need, but um, really just coming from a perspective of ensuring that we are making prudent use of taxpayer funds. And um, I'm not saying that those costs could never be approved. What I'm saying is I just want to make sure that we have all of the information that we need, including potential alternatives, and that would help me make a decision.
Commissioner, if I can address that too.
Sure.
The application is set out each year, as you know, for the applicants to put in an application, I should say, on the technology they want to offer. Now, if let's say in that quadrant of the northeast corner, let's say particularly that area, if there's a carrier out there that is going to produce a technology for fixed wireless, um, they have all the opportunity to put in that application as well to the commission. Or if that or their projects or their company prefer to put fiber optic because they're not designed to do fixed wireless, such as maybe your Baca Valleys out there, as well as your Sierra Communication, which seems to be the dominant force in that area of Colfax. Then if there's another company out there that is willing to and wants to do fixed wireless that will not, I guess, overstep what is already out there in a sense, because now we're looking at how we're utilizing our funds compared to what we have already done on the footprint, compared to are we overlapping it, or are we using our funds in a duplicate way where we already have services out there or certain services out there. So we're walking a fine line, and not only the commission, but now we're walking the line with OBAE as well in their federal BEAD program, which is really tightening up everything at this point in time. So I hope that answered your question, but I'm sensitive to your concerns of the aspect of the expense, and I see that, but as I said earlier, I think because things are shrinking and things are getting to a point now where we're really trying to take advantage of the areas that is way out there, I guess you can say, knowing the state of New Mexico, and there are a lot of families and businesses not close up in like a metro aspect, it's more rural. We're encountering that now at this time.
Thank you. All I have.
Thank you for being with us this morning, Mr. Evans, and looking forward to another year of SRUSFing.
You're welcome, Chairman O'Connell and Commissioner. Thank you for your time and consideration. And it's a good thing, gentlemen, that what we're doing right now. And looking back at the 8 years, I feel very proud of what we have accomplished as an agency, as a commission, offering the services that we have had, and a lot of positive results and positive reaction come our way. May not be as publicized in a sense as the other agencies may have, but we can stand very proud of what we have accomplished over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have communications with Chief of Staff, and I've been promised slides.
Good morning, commissioners. It's true. I have slides. If you are familiar with me, you know I hate slides. So I thought that it was worthy of seeing it, because the visual impact of what I'm about to tell you is impressive. But before we get there, I have one other update that I'd like to talk about, and that is we will be doing the fourth annual CLE seminar, PRC seminar here at the Capitol. We have the dates for it. It's the 2nd and 3rd of November. Yes, unfortunately, we know that that's election day. And also, if you guys could just slow the pace of your proceedings a little bit, it would be much easier to schedule these on a day that all of our staff could attend. So, it's the price of doing good work, I suppose. We are partnering with the NREL section of the bar, which is the Natural Resource, Energy, and Environment section. So every year we're looking to improve this seminar, and we think that this year it will be yet again a step up from what we've done in the past. Really appreciate their partnership. So watch for that save the date coming out. And just as a teaser, the topic this year is balancing the grid, utility lines to budget lines, since that's on the top of everybody's mind. So appreciate everyone who's worked on that so far. And if anyone has a wants to volunteer to help or present, we're all ears. Let me know. All right, so now the promised slides. I'm going to see if I can't make this work because that is not a guarantee. Before I go ahead and share my screen, a little background. I've talked with each of you about this separately. We run our efficiency numbers in August of each year as we're preparing for budget. The last year we made grand strides in how quickly we hear our average cases. This year we're also making strides in how quick our cases are moving. And so I thought I would share some graphics to help visualize the progress that we are making. All right. Okay. First, we're going to talk about PPAs. So we've tracked PPAs over the past couple of years. From 2023, when this commission took office, through August of 2025, we took 206 days on an average PPA. From August last year to August this year, we're down to 178 days, meaning that we're cutting off roughly a month from the average PPA processing time. And that's great, but it gets better. All right, CCNs. 2023 to 2025, it took us average 262 days. We are down to 173 days, which is just under 6 months. We're cut down by almost 3 months on our average CCN processing time. And then last but not least, overall proceedings from 2023 through August of 2025, last year, we saw an increase of 39% in our efficiency, or 129 days, down from 212 days in 2023 or 2024. This year, we're seeing even more improvement. So as compared to last year, we've increased our efficiency by 53%. Since this commission took office in 2023, we've seen an increase in efficiencies of 72%. So we are nearly at a quarter of the time that it used to take to process the average case in the PRC. And I want to thank all of our staff here and watching elsewhere. It truly is a team effort, focusing on every step of the process, finding time, making things efficient, making sure that we are doing our job in a timely manner, and increasing not just the time in which we are processing these cases, but the quality of that analysis that you are hopefully seeing as the commission who must make the decision based on the record. So that's my update. I'll let the numbers speak for themselves. And I just really want to share my appreciation for our staff who have worked so hard to make this happen, because this increase also comes at a time where we're seeing more cases and more complex cases filed than we've ever seen before. So commissioners, I would ask you in joining me. I'm not usually one for this, but can we give our staff a round of applause for these numbers? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I know that that's a paradigm shift just in how we view our obligation when an application comes in. Mr. Aguilera and I got here, and you in early 2023, that it wasn't necessarily always the case that, hey, here is an obligation for us. We have to answer this question. It was, well, busy, got other things. This thing's more important than that. So been working hard just to, the thing that's important is we got asked a question. It's our job to answer it. And I think that helps with this. And also just your leadership, getting folks working together. And some of it was breaking down silos across agencies, because instead of, it used to be handoff to handoff to handoff, and there was a time delay in between each handoff. Now we've got, like, OGC is involved when applications come in. They're not waiting until after an RD has been issued or something. So anyway, those are the kind of things I think have helped. Also warning that there will, there's a limit, right? So someday those numbers are going to turn around. So when we hit that, it's more okay. We've pushed and got what was obvious to achieve. So now it's how can we be even better, right? But those are impressive numbers, just because the finite reality of time, we're not going to get to zero. Okay, as I guess is the point I was making.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yeah, I do think that we will see some incremental progress in those numbers just because, always can do better, learn new things, think about things in a new way. But I agree with you. We've done a lot, and I think from here on out, the numbers do get smaller.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Any questions?
Yeah, also really want to thank staff for their work in achieving where we are right now. And it's important not just for the agency, but for applicants and stakeholders who, they're not necessarily our clients, but in a way they are in terms of what we're offering. And I think what we're offering is uh, certainty that the work is being done, that we're including processes within the agency to make prudent decisions, and that we're treating every application as important as it really is, and that we're not sitting around but doing the work to achieve all of those things. And so I think this is great news for me to see. I also want to note that since we're counting days, some of those days have been getting longer because when Chair O'Connell and I first came in, we had 2 or 3 days to review an item, and now we have a lot more time, which is part of us being able to make those decisions that are reasonable, and that's also thanks to staff, right? That cuts into the amount of time that they have. So really want to appreciate the work and the progress that we've been making. And I hope that stakeholders and industry see that we're making progress along those lines. And so thank you for the presentation. What I have.
Okay, any other questions for our chief of staff? So moving on to communications with commissioners. I started the week in Vancouver, Washington, so right across the river from Portland. That was Markets Plus participant executive committee meeting, and I carried a message from the member state committee about just broadly the message is that when these regional markets were conceived, and we've had this conversation many times, that we're all looking forward to the efficiency and other improvements that can come with better coordination across the Western grid. The landscape now is different than it was, say, in 2023 when the governance structures were set up over at Markets Plus. So MSC, we put together a memo and asking them to basically reevaluate their governance structure and recognize that they're not just a day-ahead energy market anymore. They've got a resource adequacy program. FERC has asked CAISO and SPP to tell FERC how the seams are going to be managed. And then, we've talked about this quite a bit. New Mexico, we're in an interesting spot because between OGSPP, Markets Plus, RTO West, and EDAM, we've got load in every market that's out there. So that sounds like a complaint, but it's also opportunity. We've got a great opportunity to be consistent and pushing for let's be fair and efficient across seams on these markets. So anyway, that's just where that happened this week. And then I was a little cranky with that group when we were in San Diego at Crepsy, and then when I showed up with a more "let's work together" message, it was well received. I think they were afraid they were getting cranky O'Connell instead of "let's work together." But having said that, wish that they would have taken up the issue a little bit quicker, but they promised they will work on it. I'm expecting to see some stuff early next year where at least it gets addressed. And then going forward next week, going to Park City, Utah with Commissioner Nybert. The Western Conference of Public Service Commissioners is having a meeting. And those are good meetings to have, especially with everything that's going on in regional markets. Just hear how other states are dealing. We've all got our own flavor of the same questions. Just talking to other commissioners about how they're handling that, and hopefully bring back some ways that agencies can be more efficient. So that's the value of those meetings. Looking forward to that. So that's Monday. It's most of the day Tuesday. And then between here, then and next open meeting, nose in my book, getting ready for cases that are coming.
Well, thank you for those updates. I was able to, I received the Markets Plus memo that you're referencing, and I thought the points in the memo are really important. And so really want to thank you for carrying that project and general idea, because it really is critical. And relatedly, it's a really good time to think about how states fit into these regional markets and what the role of states should be. That's something that is happening right now with the BOSSER as the Regional Organization for Western Energy is continuing to be developed. And really, it's something that's occurring across the country. PJM conversations are happening about how state regulators are involved, and not just regulators, but states in general, how they should be involved and what the role should be. Because there have been aspects of the market that have not really worked, for states and what they want to see. And so I think it's a really good time to continue that conversation. And thank you for that memo that I thought raised really good and important points. So I think I've already talked about in prior meetings the meetings that I'm attending. So one of them is the CAISO Stakeholder Symposium. Also going to be going to a EDAM training that the WEEB, BOSSER, and the CAISO are hosting together. That's in September. That's what's coming to mind right now. I did want to talk about one thing that kind of came to me after the presentation on the broadband, and I think what I was kind of left with is just wondering, like, what if we had an RFP for this scenario, and what solution would come out of an RFP? So again, going back to the situation where we were talking about the cost per customer being 30 or 42,000 per customer, and just thinking about how can we facilitate a process that would result in a similar competitive solution there. I don't know that we have enough time right now to do that, but for the future, if we are going to be dealing with situations that are pricier per customer, how can we create a process that simulates results that a competitive bid or market would have. And so that's kind of what I was left with, and so wanted to share that. I'll continue to think about that, see what solutions might be out there that we could borrow from, but it might be important going forward.
Well, I just returned from Chicago, from the Southwest Power Pool cost allocation committee meeting, and that is moving forward. They're expecting to vote on those issues in November. We have a meeting coming up in Kansas City, middle of September, that will likely set the stage for those items to be voted on by that November meeting. So the work group is coming to conclusions, and will be issuing their reports to the body that votes, and then it'll come to the RSC for a vote after that. And I don't have a crystal ball to tell you exactly how it's going to turn out. There's some strong ideas that we need to change the current methodology, primarily from some of the northern states who don't want to pay for some of the expensive transmission lines that are scheduled to come into the southern end, and the build out will progress from south to north. There's also some thought that the current methodology has worked well for a long time and needs to be maintained. So we'll find out within the next few months as to how that will proceed. You've already mentioned our Salt Lake City visit with the Western Commissioners. Look forward to that. And then would just like to say one thing about an issue that's at least causing my phone to get a little blown up, and that is a situation that's occurring in Alamogordo with PNM billing, and I understand it may be coming into the Albuquerque area as well. I know we're getting blamed for some of that, and we don't have any matters that I can discern that are in front of us to be really the source of what we're getting characterized as being blamed for. But I guess as those issues arise, people need to call our consumer relations folks and talk to them and see if there's some interaction that they can engage in. And that information is on our website. Their phone number is on our website, and I would encourage people to take advantage of our staff. They do an excellent job in trying to resolve issues and get to the bottom of it. So would like to cool down some of the rhetoric that's being tossed around on some of those issues. I think that we have I'm really pleased to see the efficiency numbers, and that includes some of the major issues that we're dealing with right now. Rate cases, which take a long time, and obviously we've had a couple acquisition cases, one that's still pending before us. Those numbers are reflective of some of the time periods for some of those issues as well. And so overall, on general matters, the time periods that they're being decided are maybe prompter than even what the numbers show, because it's these big cases that really skew it toward the longer end. So my congratulations to Ms. Gorey and the entire staff for their efforts in attending to the work that we do efficiently and getting things through the system as quickly as possible. We appreciate everyone's efforts, and as we're told in every one of these programs we attend, that speed is important. Speed will continue to be something that is being pressed upon us to be faster and faster. We recognize that we can't take it to zero, as the chair mentioned, because we also have some legal and some regulatory duties that we have to attend to, which take time. But we are doing our best, and the staff is doing its best to make sure that we run our programs efficiently and try to get to the bottom line as soon as possible. So thank everyone. That was a great report and pleased to see it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And then just one thing, listening to your experience in Chicago and something that Commissioner Aguilera brought up that has been discussed, at least among the MSC members, is out west, we are fortunate to have WEEB. So part of that memo, how it came together was the staff at the Western Interstate Energy Board. And so very much appreciate that we have them as an independent source of excellent technical assistance when we're working on these regional market things. And it's also helping commissioners, I think, be consistent. This message of the landscape has changed. That's not unique to Markets Plus. It's in any market that we're in. So anyway, just reminded that was a part of the conversation in the last couple of weeks, and so wanted to make sure I shared that too. Commissioners, any final words? Seeing none, we are adjourned.